Hey all, it's Bean, and we're going to be playing my favorite of the NES Mega Man titles, Numero Quattro. Now, I've been watching a lot of people playing this game lately, and for the most part, everyone's been doing a good job. That said, there's still some parts that people make a little bit harder than others. So what I'm going to do today is just play this game for y'all. We're going to take it nice and easy. We're going to show you how it's done. Maybe it'll help you out, maybe it won't. Let's get going. In life, just like Mega Man 4, sometimes you think so far ahead that you don't even look at the next jump up coming. I can't tell you how many times I've missed that second one, or even make it past it only to get pushed in the pit. But you know what the good thing is? That even though it feels like the whole world's against you at times, you still got some friends out there wanting to help you get by some obstacles that you wouldn't be able to otherwise. You're going to have to stop every now and then. You're going to have to think about what you need to do. But really, it's not that bad. Now, I really chose Brightman Stage first because it's one of the harder ones out there in my opinion. One of the ones where there's so many obstacles that can trip you up in just an instant. No, we're not going to go down the ladder, by the way. But, take a look at this. People think these grasshoppers, they're enemies. But you look at them, and they're just helping you across. They want to see you succeed just like your friends want to see you succeed. And to be honest, I don't have a problem with that. They're there for you. And you're there for them sometimes. Eventually, yeah, you do have to go it solo, but you don't have to feel like you're alone out there. And that's really a nice thing. Sure, as you move along, the world's going to try to pull the proverbial rug right out from under you. But it's okay as long as you keep moving. If you don't, you're going to fall flat off the face of the earth, and to be honest, I don't want to see that happen to any of you. Also, don't want you to jump up too high there and hit that firefly, because that dude is a total jerk. I think you got the idea. Maybe a light went off in your head. Hopefully it won't go off on the screen, because otherwise time's going to stop. To avoid that in this fight, you just want to hit him with a pellet before you use 4 charge shots on him. You do that, you can just flat out take it to him, no problem. Unless, of course, you make a mistake. We're all going to make mistakes as we go along. None of us are perfect. Goodness knows I'm not. But the more you try, the more likely you are to succeed in life. And here we are, We've just taken the first step on this journey together, and I think it's going pretty well right now. Now we have the ability to stop and think about what we're going to do. And I think I have a good idea of what I want to do next. Usually, when I have an idea, I, test the waters a little bit. But sooner or later, once you've got that idea in your head, that's when you just dive right in. No reason to jump on these platforms. Just get in the water. It's safe. Yeah, there's a bunch of fish flying after you, a bunch of spikes on the ground, but really, you're not going to hit them. They're harmless. These Metroid guys, they don't mean any harm either. They're just swimming. It's their way of life. Who are we to interfere in it? It's an endless sea of possibilities out there. Sooner or later, you're going to have to swim for one of them just to see if they hold any water or not. But even then, after a little while, you've got to come up for air. We've all got to breathe sometime. See where we're at. Catch up with some old friends, maybe some new ones. I don't know. Depends what you do. For me, I'd like to stop and talk to an old friend here, but, just running into him was enough. I would have asked them for lunch, but I knew I was going to dive right back into the think tank anyway, and you're not really supposed to be diving back in just a few minutes after eating, so we're not going to have any lunch here. So we're going to just go over some old ground, take care of things. Definitely not going to dive down any deeper. I mean, we're deep enough. We don't need a wire to help get us through life and contact our friends. I mean, I already have the skills I need to get through this. Everything just stops for a little bit when you keep on going along at a good pace. Now, Dive Man's one of those guys that can either be really easy or just a complete hassle. It just depends. To me, he's like a big bully. The further you are away from him, the less trouble he's going to give you. He's going to try and get close, try and bug you. I don't really like being bothered by people like him. He's no good. Goodbye. I mean, you just get out of the way. He'll wear himself out. You can go on about your business, It's fine. Dive Missile might be one of the worst weapons in the game, but I think it gets kind of a bad rap. I mean, after all, in the early going, when you haven't figured things out yet, you're looking for all the help you can get. I mean, here we are. I've got an idea. I've thought it through. Now it's time for us to test the foundation to see if there's anything to build off of here. And I mean, no matter how solid you think these plans are, problems are going to pop up out of nowhere on you. And when that happens, you got one of two choices in your life. One, you can just sit there, stick your head in the sand, and hope these problems will just magically go away on you, even though you know they won't. Or two, you can dig down deep inside of yourself, quit letting these problems pull you under, and fight. Just stand up. I mean, our lives are a series of internal conflicts anyway, and every one that we go on and beat helps us master ourselves, get further on in life. One of the most common internal conflicts I've heard of is to be or not to be. They say that's the question. But I can tell you right now, whoever asked that question probably never played Mega Man 4 in their life. I can tell you that much. I mean, you look at it. Why would you not want to be? You're going to be able to skip a huge chunk of Pharaoh Man stage with it. I mean, let's face it, it's going to save time in other spots too. These guys kind of remind me of my grasshopper buddies back from the old Brightman days. Kind of wish I could call those dudes up on my cell phone, but the reception is kind of bad down here. I mean, maybe I should have grabbed that wire after all. I don't know. You're going to go through life with regrets, no matter what you do. I mean, just a few moments ago, I regretted saying something that I probably shouldn't have. I said that I had all the skills that I needed, but really, I didn't even have a clue. I mean, when I stopped and took a look at my resume, it was kind of lacking. I mean, Flash Stopper and Dive Missile. I mean, sure, the Dive Missile could one-hit those mummy dudes, which I didn't even know about until I started watching Simon's playthrough, but... Well, we got what we need, and we'll get more as we go along. I mean, you can stop and think about things all you want, but if you do that for a bit too long, the world, much like this fight for Pharaoh Man, is going to pass you right on by. You'll never be able to show the world your skill set, never be able to show people what you're made of. Is that what you want? I just don't think so. I mean, I've had this idea for making this video for a long time, and then I thought the idea through, and I tested it out with y'all to see if it would work. I gotta tell you, after the first few stages here, I'm liking where this is going. While it's a good thing that we put in all the planning and testing, the fact of the matter is, if we don't actually buckle down and start putting in the hard work, nobody out there is going to recognize us or take our ideas seriously. This is kind of the perfect place to actually get to work, so let's get going. And as much as I'd love to stop and chat with my old old friend here. I just don't have the time. And the fact of the matter is, we're entering a construction zone anyway, and he's not wearing his helmet, so let's just move on and leave him be. Now, this stage can be kind of tricky at times. I mean, there are a lot of these little small jumps that can mess you up if you aren't paying any attention. I'm not a big fan of that jump for the 1-up, so I'm just going to leave it alone and keep on going. I mean, these spikes look dangerous, but, you know, they're not really that bad to deal with. It's just like work itself. I mean, you put in a little bit of time, chances are you're going to get used to the situation. Although I never get used to this slide jump because you have to be pretty dang precise to make it out in one piece. That's just the way the work world works. I mean, sometimes you're going to be asked to do some things that you're not used to just to get ahead. Every now and then it'll work out for you. Other times you're going to spike up your backside. I mean, did I expect to get hit by that boulder when I signed up for this job? No. But luckily, you know, I'm wearing my helmet, so I only took half the damage that I would otherwise. I don't really understand the purpose of these rocks falling out of the chutes, but this isn't my company. Still, I think I'm going to have myself a few words with the management about these rather unsafe working conditions going on in this place. I mean, Drillman himself here can be a rather boring boss. He's also one of the more dangerous ones when he starts to show his explosive temper. I mean, you have to time your jumps pretty darn perfectly or you're going to get popped by one of his drill bombs. You want to get over him on the second one, and then you just want to keep hopping quickly to avoid the rest of the garbage, but like I said, it can be kind of tough. In fact, I'd say Drillman himself is one of the hardest post Mega Man 3 NES bosses to do a no damage fight with. But, you know, that's not really the goal of this time. I mean, this is already stressful enough, trying to go through this whole road in one go, no life's lost. You know, it's for that very reason that I decided that when I was doing this run, I wasn't actually going to use the original game audio. And that's exactly what I did. When I was sitting down and playing through this, I just decided, you know what, let's put on this nice, easy listening collection of tunes and just go with it. I kind of like it, to be honest with you. It helped keep my soul at ease as I just kept on climbing. Climbing to my goal. You might be asking what that goal is. Well, you know, at first the sky was the limit for me, but as I continued to keep on moving on, I really wanted to make this video pretty dang fun to watch, or at least interesting. So, you know, eventually, you climb the sky high enough, you're gonna reach for the stars, reach for your dreams. You know, this hippo here, he's one of the people who's probably already reached his dreams. Still don't like him looking down on me though, so I'm not gonna pay him any attention, just keep moving on. Don't need to fight everything in your way in this game. Just keep on going. I never was really good at fighting these ring things, but, you know, it's okay. You don't have to be perfect at everything. Chances are, no matter how hard you work at this, eventually you're going to make a mistake. If I remember correctly, I think I'm about to make a big one right about now. Yeah, there it was. What I actually wanted to do there was use Rush Jet and just take some of those frequent flyer miles we just picked up from our previous job, but it wasn't meant to be. You know, so instead, I'm having to travel the more dangerous path, but it's okay. You know, I wasn't ready for that mistake to happen, but I corrected things before it got out of control. That's what you gotta do. I mean, if you slip up, you just gotta keep on going. Try again, so to speak. Make sure that ring guy was kind of trying my patience there a little bit, but it's okay. And we got past him. Are we getting close to our next encounter? You know, speaking of close encounters, you actually want to face Ringman at close range, even though it doesn't seem that way. I know a lot of guys and gals out there get a little scared when they see a ring pop up out of nowhere. Maybe they fear commitment, I don't know. But really, the only thing you had to commit to in that fight was jumping over and back over that dude's rings. Once you got that done, you got yourself a good prize. I mean, now that we've managed to go through and reach our dream, which was apparently collecting a bunch of gold rings, you know, we've done all that we can in the outside world for the time being. Now we need to do a little bit of self-inspection, so to speak. Clean up any past mistakes we may have made in our lives. You know, I think about some of the things that I screwed up on in this run even. Getting that met, for instance, wasn't expecting that. You know, it's definitely a stage where you can stop and reflect on things for a little bit. But only for a little bit, because you have to keep moving forward no matter what you do. You know, I was a little bit rude to that Jumbig there. I haven't really had the time to talk to him throughout this whole session, and that's kind of a bummer. You know, I think if I see him again, I'm gonna have to apologize to that guy. You know, on the road of life, we're bound to make some mistakes. It just depends how many you make. But you don't want to get crushed when you've worked so hard to get to this point of your life. And I remember back in the day when things were a little more black and white, this section gave me a heck of a time. I mean, it was brutal. I went through it once on my first try, and I thought I could always clean up this mess very quickly, but it just wasn't to be. That's something you gotta watch out for. I mean, nowadays we've got a ring boomerang to clean this stuff up, but back then, it was pretty easy to just lose it all in just a few minutes. Of course, talking about the Game Boy version of this stage, man, that one still brings back some bad memories even to this day. It's funny how that works. Jumbig, we meet again, buddy. You know, I'm sorry I've been trying to race past you. I just don't like having any conflict with you, you know? You were a good friend to me all those times. I mean, every time I'd start walking one way, you'd be walking right toward me. It's kind of amazing how that always worked out. But eventually, you know, I'm going to go my way, you're going to go your way. Chances are we might never see each other again, but that's just the way it's going to be sometimes, pal. Hope you can forgive me, but I have to keep moving on. I hope I didn't crush his feelings too much there. Of course, I didn't have Dust Crusher when I met him there, but now I do. Still, I think he can go on. He's a big guy. He's a strong dude. He'll manage. He'll be fine. But you know, we've got to keep moving on ourselves. Got to continue on this self-inspection tour, so to speak, here. Gotta be looking at all these bones. You know, that's kind of a creepy thing when you think about it, but you know, we're made up of a couple hundred bones ourselves, and there are some things out there that are gonna rattle us from time to time. You know, we've all got our fears we gotta watch out for. You know, I kind of fear being alone, and right now I am. I feel like I'm taking on the whole world right now. Or at least Russia. Still, you know, I've got to commit to this. That's why I got Ring Boomerang after all. One of the best weapons in this game. You can take out enemies with shields from behind pretty easily. Although you might want to quit getting hit by everything that moves. You know, I mean, this jump here, this is another thing that I used to never commit to, and it always scared me. But, you know what? You just gotta keep going. It's like I keep saying to you guys, the more you hesitate, the more you're liable to make a mistake. And we've already passed that part. And we can't be making as many mistakes anymore. We know the drill. Because he was our boss back in the day. And these fears are just gotta be put aside. You just gotta crush them. You know? I mean, when you see a giant skeleton in front of you, don't run away. Just stand right close to him. I mean, it makes it a lot easier to hit him, for goodness sake. You might do this little short hop that looks stupid, let you get in a couple more hits. And you can take out your fears in no time at all. And even if you still have fears, now you get a barrier that you can put up if you need it. Chances are we probably won't, because Skull Barrier is my least favorite weapon in this game, but you know, it's just how it goes. Now you might ask yourself what a Toad that belly dances has anything to do with being on the real life, but we're at that point in the playthrough, much like in our lives, where we're at a crossroads. You know, we've taken care of the hardest part of the first part of this life journey, but we haven't moved into the next stage yet. This is where we might feel invincible. We might try or do some things that, well, aren't good for us, but we do them anyway because we think we can get away with doing it without any repercussions, and that's really a dangerous attitude to have, because these are the kinds of mistakes that can haunt you for years to come. You know, so as we explore the depths of our essence, the sewage of our souls, I feel like I should share with you something that I did that wasn't the brightest idea. I was 20 at the time, so that would put this at 2003. And now I'm sure that you people out there know where I'm going with this, and I'm sorry for taking such a serious tone for what's been a silly faux philosophical video, but I feel like I need to get this out there. Yes, I genuinely enjoyed playing Mega Man X7 when it was first released. I mean, I didn't mean to like it, but you just look back and see the previous two games in the series, and it was so terrible to begin with. I mean, you know, it tried to change things up. It wanted to be good, and I thought it was good. And, you know, that mistake cost me. It actually cost me a job in 2004, and to this day, I will always regret that decision. But, you know, I needed to get it out there. And that's what I needed to do. And you might have a mistake like that. You need to get out there to salvage your soul. But you know what? I did it. I said it. I've paid for it. And I feel better now. And that's all I had to do. That's all we had to do. No, literally, that's all we had to do, because now that we've, you know, come up with a bright idea, dove into the think tank, tested the foundation, built up the resume, reached for our dreams and made the commitment, cleaned up our mistakes, crushed our fears, and now flat out salvaged our soul, you know, all our problems are squared away. And that means that we're finally ready to go out there and step into the real world. And I mean, sure, at first glance it looks cold and unforgiving, like everyone out there is gunning for you, but it's alright. I mean, at least in this case, front door is wide open. All we gotta do is just take a little trek through the snow to get there. Should be easy. I mean, sure, it looks intimidating at first, but, you know, you get your E-Tank over there at the start, to the left. And then the first foes you run into here are, sinister-looking slinkies. Not exactly, a big threat, but, you know, they are red. Yeah. Anyway, you know, you keep moving on in the real world, and you're going to have to use all the skills that you've gained over the course of your little playthrough here. And, you know, stopping time, that was the first ability we got. It's a good thing we got it, because if we didn't, that'd kind of be a little tough here, to be honest with you. I mean, I guess I could have used Rush to fly over some of this mess, but my brain just is not thinking speedrunning tactic time here. Oh well. Still, I do know with the skills I've got, I'll be able to rise to the occasion pretty darn easily. And that's a good thing, because, I mean, we're getting to the point of the game in our lives where we gotta start using what we got in a very efficient manner. And, you know, there are some things that... Hey! Jumbig! Working as a security guard now. You're moving up in the world, buddy. But if you don't mind, I gotta go through these doors because opportunity's knocking, and it's time for me to cash in. I mean, you gotta be careful when you get to this point because, again, you know, we're working with a limited budget here. And you gotta be careful because, I mean, if you keep tossing your money around everywhere, you're gonna be broke before you know it. And I mean, you gotta maintain a budget here. You're gonna be in some deep financial trouble, and you know what? That'd be kind of a shame. Still, at least we know when we are here in the real world, you know, we don't have that many choices to make. We've already picked a path in our lives. Now we gotta stick to the course. No matter how linear it may seem. I mean, maybe you have two options, but you know that they're all going to lead to the same place because that's what you chose. That's fine. I'm not really that worried at the moment. Sure, things are getting a little bit more dangerous. I see a spike pit. I don't have my little grasshopper buddies I met like, 25 minutes ago. But it's okay. I mean, after all the time we put in our job, we wound up earning ourselves some frequent flyer miles from our canine companion here. And he just helped us get across that. You don't always need to count on insects to help you get across spikes. And, like I said, the balloon we picked up earlier was also going to help us get through some of these parts a little bit easier. Now actually, one thing that Simon didn't show off in his playthrough is a little glitch you can use with Rush that I'm going to show off now, although in weird fashion. You see, if you call him out and you don't use him, but you get hit, Rush will instantly transport over to your location and give you an immediate boost. Now, I'm pretty sure I don't make any good use of it throughout this entire run, but had I jumped into that bat back there, things probably would have gone a little bit faster for me, so if you're trying to speedrun this game, I guess that's a tip you can use. It's also probably why they gimped Rush Coil up in Mega Man 5, although it also works with Jet and I'm pretty sure Marine. Anyway, getting back to the purpose of what this video is trying to accomplish, I mean, you've stepped foot through the front door of the real world, and now you're trying to make a name for yourself, but maybe things aren't going your way. Maybe it feels like time's running out, you might never get your chance to shine, and you feel like the walls are closing in around you. But it's okay. I mean, after all, it's only natural to have a psychological fear of failure. But we already have something that can help us deal with that. We're putting it to good use right now. Actually, you can hit Square Machine 4 times in a single pass if you're really quick on the ball, but it It wasn't meant to be this time. You know, my time to shine is not yet. Maybe it'll be in the future. Maybe it's already passed me by. I don't really know. What I do know is we just keep on marching forward. Because that's the only thing we can do. And that's really how things are always going to go. I mean, sooner or later, you know, you're going to realize that life's going to move on with or without you. And you can stand still all you want, but sooner or later, the fact of the matter is if you don't keep moving, chances are you're going to get pushed from behind by life. It's going to send you falling hundreds of feet down into the cold, unforgiving ground. I gotta tell you, there might be snow down there right now, but falling a few hundred feet would hurt. Trust me on that. Honestly, this is one of those stages that's kind of cool the first few times you play it, but you get a little bored because there aren't too many enemies in it. And I mean, for the entire first half, you're doing a lot of these single block jumps. Auto-scrolling stages in Mega Man aren't very common. In fact, I think this is the only one for the NES games. Although I do know that Mega Man 8 and Mega Man at base loves using them in spots. Those are games for another time. A time we're not really talking about at the moment. Yep. There goes life again. But hey, I mean, we're onto its game right now. We know life's gonna move forward, so we're just gonna keep moving forward along with it. I mean, sure, I'd like to move at my own pace here, not have to deal with this scrolling whatsoever. The stage probably wouldn't be that long if I did that. But it's just a case of life telling us that we can't always go at our own pace. Sometimes we just have to let it control some circumstances for us. Those that don't rush, and those that don't fall behind, will be the ones that get ahead. I mean, if we used rush here, we'd probably fall into a pit. So, could use a balloon to get that E-tank, but we don't need it. Instead, we're gonna go deal with one of the easiest bosses in the entire classic series. This guy. He just walks around, kind of slowly. You know, maybe he's trying to be like life here and just move at his own pace, but I just don't know why they're so slow. I mean, the Cockroach Twins really aren't a threat. Most of their shots miss you by a great deal, and you barely even have to move. Honestly, I don't see many people having problems with this boss. And just a word of advice, if you're going to mess around with the balloon and try to land on the spikes and show off that you can do it, make sure that you're playing the game with the sound on. I wasn't. And you know, 11 stages in, this is not the time to be playing around. No, this is a time for real work. It's about time to go see our new boss. This one's actually human, so it could be rather interesting. After all, he's invited us over for dinner, and opportunities like that don't happen but once in a blue moon. You might be nervous at this point. You might make some mistakes that you wouldn't otherwise. I know I am right now. But this is the chance that we've been waiting for all these last 9 minutes or so. You just gotta hope for the best and hope everything works out. And we're already running a little bit late, so it's about time we take another shortcut here with our little magic balloon we got. Upper path's not too bad, but I think most everybody that wants to go through this game in a quick manner is going to take the lower path. You get another E-tank. You have more sinister slinkies to deal with. I mean, it's nothing. not everything has to be hard. I mean, there's a time for hard work, and then there's a time to just get there and get the job done. This is the latter. And to be honest, we're almost there right now, because the stage isn't that long. Still, I'm glad we took that shortcut when we did, because now we're right on time with our face-to-face conversation with Dr. Cossack here. I mean, he's waiting for us to prove that we can hang with him on his level, so let's do just that right now. We can actually get a few buster shots in on him, because he takes forever to get started. I don't blame the guy, really. Maybe he's as nervous as we are. Actually, Dust Crusher is supposed to be the Cossack catcher's weakness, but your best bet is just to go with the Mega Buster, at least when it's fully charged. And just like that, we've already proven to him that we're the best here. We're the best for this job. And just when you think you're about to seal the deal, get that promotion, that's when he tells you that he's already found another man for the job. And of course that man winds up being that guy you worked with in the past. It's burned you a few times, but you know, you kept forgiving him because he was pretty darn charismatic. That's some real good eyebrow grooming tips. But he's told you that he's going to have a party of his own now. He's invited you there. You don't want to go, but really, you don't have a choice in the matter. You have to go. He's now your boss, whether you like it or not. Still, I think it's about time we give this guy a piece of our mind. I mean, he's one-upped us for the last time. I'm tired of putting my faith in this guy and having him turn on us at the drop of a hat. I mean, he's invited us to a place with all our current colleagues, some of our former friends even. But to be honest, they all look like the same stranger at this point. I don't remember any of these people. You feel kind of lost in the crowd at this point, like you're the only one that doesn't get the joke. Could you have been an insect in a past stage of your life? I don't know. And really, that's the thing here. This is an uncertain period of our lives. We thought it out clearly. We had it all planned out. And now we're kind of at a turning point. We're in a state of despair, or we could be. Maybe you feel like you're drowning in it. Danger just about everywhere. All these faces just really scaring you. Even jumps that you thought were easy at one point, you just can't go without using a little safety net, no matter how easy it looks. Actually, I find that jump that I just did to be one of the hardest jumps in the entire game. It looks relatively easy, but you start thinking that you've been going for a long time, and you have. I mean, it's been a good near 40 minutes now. You miss a jump here, you don't go in with full certainty. You're going to be starting back over. Do you want to replay this? Of course not. You've worked so hard to this point. Why would you ever want to take the chance of making a big mistake now? Excuse me, sir. I've got to go see the boss. Maybe these problems are all one giant metaphor that I haven't figured out. And there are two things you could do at this point. You could either throw your money around, or you could actually use the weapon that doesn't have much use left in this playthrough. Honestly, Ring Boomerang's going to see action on, I think, another 3 bosses off the top of my head, so that leaves Dust Crusher. And this Met is actually one of the toughest bosses for me in the entire series for whatever reason. And his hitbox looks a little bigger than it is. Seems a little more dangerous, and he takes an awful lot of damage. Still, we managed to avoid him long enough that we can move past these nameless faces in the crowd and start looking at what the path is up ahead. And really, what used to be a path that all led the same places has now become the exact opposite. Now it's like you gotta know which path to take right off the bat, or you're gonna be at a dead end. Might not be ready for every situation, might hesitate a little bit in some of these jumps, but you can't do that in this stage. And that's exactly what I did on one run, by the way. 40 minutes of work squandered because I hesitated on that one with those two propeller enemies. Jumped right in the spikes and ruined everything, but now we've got the confidence to make every jump we have to. Do I want to talk to Eddie? I'm thinking about it, but no, I really don't. Because right now, the only person that we can really count on is ourselves. I mean, sure, we've got a dog, but he's not a person. Once again, dive missile coming through on these little mummy guys. I was surprised to see that it actually has more use than I thought. Because again, back in the day, I didn't use what I had. I just went with what I thought would work. Excuse me, I need to hurry on up here, bats. Not sure why I keep rush out as long as I do in this stage, to be honest with you. Is, again, I'm going to have that glitch activate for no reason other than I can. I guess I'm just throwing caution to the wind at this point, just doing whatever I feel like. Having that attitude might get me fired, though. It's the last thing I want. This guy's just a load of garbage. Actually, the way you can beat him, there's a couple of ways that you can cheese this fight. One, you can get up behind him, if I'm not mistaken, and just jump and shoot ring boomerang from there. The second way you can do it is by standing on the very left edge of that platform the boss is on and firing from there. Still, you know, we've been pretty good when it comes to saving our cash up, saving our gold. And it's because you've made those sound financial decisions that you realize that you are the more qualified one for this job. Certainly not that jerk of a friend that shows up once every now and then just to ruin things for you. I mean, really, I thought he was gone for good last time. For crying out loud, he had a giant trash cube drop on him. Who wouldn't think he'd be gone after that? Certainly a man that must be wiser than I am. And now we're at a point where, you know, we need to have everything ready for this face-to-face chat. This is a big deal here. We're finally at the point where the unfamiliar has become familiar. All the despair we were in just a few minutes ago, all the dead ends, they're gone now. In fact, you've pretty much got a straight path to the finish with minimal obstacles in your way. I'm not really worried about those. I never have been. I've worked my way around those problems, and it's just about time for that one-to-one showdown. Of course, before we can do that, we gotta go mingle with some of our old pals once again. Maybe after we get done with them, our VIP will show up finally. That'd be swell. For Drillman, one of the suggestions that I didn't get to make in the previous fight because he was constantly doing this little drill attack is that if he goes underground, you don't have to slide around like a maniac. In fact, you can just sit still and count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Because on 4 he's going to pop up right where you are. Really, that makes this fight a lot easier. Although a little more time consuming, but you know, our old boss was someone that liked to be buried in his own work anyway. Sure, it makes you hopping mad, but you just gotta get through it. And finally, you take him down. I remember way back in the beginning when we came up with our idea. That light bulb went off in our head, but luckily not in our face. Same thing's gonna happen here because we hit him with a single pellet. Once you do that, you don't have to ever worry about the flash stopper coming into play. That's really nice, to be honest with you, because this guy does enough damage already when he hops on you. Is it time to commit? No, not just yet. I tend to always seem to forget where Ringman is, at least in this run. Once again, gonna keep close to our skeleton pal. Take him out in just a few seconds, really. While things are going pretty well right now, treading over some old ground, there still needs to be some concern put on, because if you relax a little bit too much, you become complacent, and when you do that, you tend to make some mistakes that you haven't made in years, like letting Dive Man do his triple torpedo attack. And when you aren't ready for something, chances are you might just wind up looking like a fool. The situation gets a little tense. That's the last thing you want at this point, because you're so close to the end. You don't want to mess up, and you have no idea how happy I was to not mess up there, because that was about as close of a call as I've ever had against Dive Man since learning his easy pattern. Then you go fight a toad. After all, bombs and cytodrills are the natural weakness of the four-eyed toad that belly dances. Time for Ringman yet? Of course not. Keep getting a little ahead of myself. Still, at least this time I need to use his weapon on this boss. I am kind of surprised that in both encounters I never had to deal with the blowing of this sucker. It's just the way it goes sometimes, though. Finally. Third time's the charm, I suppose. Still, didn't go as well as it used to. Maybe I'm just getting a little nervous, I'm getting closer to having that dinner date with Wily. Guess I really should just stop worrying. Did I make that stop joke too soon? Probably. It's okay. Once again, our buddy Pharaoh Man here just won't have time to show off his skills to the world, and I'm sure some of you out there may be disappointed about that, but I'm not one of them. Just gotta keep on hitting that fire button a few seconds more, and then it'll be finally time to finally have our friend come out of hiding at long last. This is becoming kind of a routine at this point. I mean, he's always waiting in the shadows, just hoping he can stab us in the back, no matter how many times we forgive him, and it's really become a frustrating routine at this point. Speaking of routines, this Wily machine's kind of easy with how it just goes up and down, shooting 3 fireballs over and over again. Not really a big deal at all. Finally, you've taken off your mask and shown your true face to the world. I mean, that's really how things go for you, don't they, pal? You just wait in the wings, tell everyone that you're sorry, they forgive you, and sure enough, sooner or later, what do you go and do? You go and try to take over the world again. You are really a jerk. And you can fly off, but you know you can never hide from me for too long. I'll chase you to the ends of the earth, or at least the end of this castle. Whichever comes first. At this point, you try to build things the way you used to back in the old Mega Man 2 and 3 days here, but it's just not the same. I mean, I know your type. You're the kind of guy that wants the large hall to your office just so you can look like you're more important than you really are. But
this has got to stop, because this is the 4th time now. And truth be told, I'm not going to blow sunshine up your backside anymore. In fact, I'm just going to throw it. Mainly because I know it's going to hurt you more that way. I mean, let's face facts here. You're the kind of guy that hides in the shadows, does your little disappearing act when things go wrong, but that's not the way things work. You can't just pop in out of the blue and then think everything's going to be handed to you. You have to put in the time and the effort like we have over this past little while. You just don't understand how much work there is. And until you see the light, you're never going to realize just how wrong you've been. So here, allow me to help with that. After all, it's a dog-eat-dog world out there, and my dog just disappeared. But see, now that we've shed a little light on this situation, there you are again, begging for forgiveness. And you know what? I really want to forgive you this time. But then you go and do a move like that. I mean, you are just unbelievable. I'll see you again someday, though. I know it. But at least now I've got the job that I knew I was going to get. Unfortunately, as is too often in this day and age of our economy, the market begins to go and implode on itself. It's a real shame, too. Kind of like that job. Whatever it was. Still, it's a good thing on the road of life that there are railroad crossings available. So we'll hop on the nearest train and ride its rails all the way home to go plan out our next move. Sometime during the journey you wonder when they built a railway that takes you from Moscow to the heartland of America, presumably Kansas, but you know, that's not as strange as wondering why it's going from east to west when it'd probably be faster. Across the Pacific. It's just the way things work in Mega Man's crazy world, I guess. And as crazy as it may seem, there's actually a moral we can take home from this strange journey, believe it or not. That moral being that no matter how hard you want to get from point A to point B, plan out every detail, the fact of the matter is, sooner or later, you're going to take some detours that you might not have taken otherwise, but that's really what life's about. It's about those little stops along the way. Because if everything went in a straight line the whole way through, it'd really be a boring road to travel. And in the end, you're going to reach your destination if you keep working at it. I mean, goodness knows, I've finally reached the end of my long journey. That probably should have been done about a month ago, really. That's just the way things go. Really? I guess you could just take a picture. It'd last longer that way. The end. Okay, so that was Mega Man 4, done in a very unique way. I don't really know what to make of it myself. There are a lot of reasons I chose to do things the way I did here today. One is that I'm actually pretty darn good at Mega Man 4, and in fact this is one of only 2 games that I've ever gone through without dying in, and I figured I'd play it like that. 2, you know, with Simon taking the informative route, I really wanted to try something new and see if I could pull it off. I can tell you right now that there are certain things about this journey that may have been able to go a little bit better if I knew what I was completely doing, but like I said, I wanted to try this out the way I did, and I'll let you decide if it was worth it or not. And before this video comes to a close, I want to thank some people. Obviously, first and foremost would be Simon for taking the time to play my favorite Mega Man game and do it justice. For those of you just watching on YouTube, I'm going to post a link in the description box. Give his videos a view. They are definitely worth the time. The other person I want to thank is Dash for trying to give me some ideas on speaking lessons here. I think I still got a long way to go, though, before I can do this without stuttering. Even now, while I'm trying to come up with this, it's hard to get the words from my brain out my mouth and all that. I think if I do Mega Man 5, I'm just going to take a more normal approach with it. Maybe then I'll do a little bit better job. Until then, this was Bean for Simon's Mega Man 4 thread and The Road of Life. I hope you all enjoyed it, and maybe I'll see you on down the road. Later.